What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Hitman 3 got announced, guys, from IO Interactive. And what I will say about that first trailer that we got was I am incredibly excited to play Hitman 3 in the next generation of consoles, and it seems like, guys, even though it's going to be coming onto the next-gen consoles, that being the PlayStation 5 as well as the Xbox Series X, it's also going to be available on the Xbox One and the PS4, which is really exciting, and I think that that obviously gives those of us who aren't planning on buying the new consoles right away, which I know there's going to be a number of you out there that aren't going to buy one of the new consoles when they first come out, because a lot of times, a lot of games as they come out on, the next generation consoles, they'll also be available for at least a couple of years on the previous generation consoles, typically speaking. And with that, it also is going to be coming out on PC. And we've talked about Hitman 3 and kind of how this series is going to be one that, there's kind of some question marks here as to where they're trying to go with this story. One thing I wanted to, bring up in this first segment of the show is, will Hitman 3 be the last go-around for Agent 47? Will this being Hitman 3 conclude Agent 47's story? So let's get into it. If you were to ask me, right off the bat here, guys, if you were to ask me if it was going to be the last of Agent 47's story, I would say no. I would say that they will probably continue making these games as long as it's making them money. Agent 47 and the Hitman series in particular has done incredibly well. It's built a pretty nice fan base and such. I think that we will see continuations of Agent 47's story. Now, the question is it always going to be Agent 47, or are they going to have a new agent, Agent 48, or something along those lines at some point or another? And I think that is something that very well may realistically come up. But is it going to be this soon? Is this going to conclude Agent 47? I would say no. I would say that he will probably still get some more games moving forward. It would be interesting to see him pass the torch on to another, another agent, or just another agent, like kind of comes into the fray, and we take the helm of that character. And we kind of get that, that parting gift, or that going away of Agent 47, whether that means he dies in the story or he retires, whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of ways in which that they could do it, that being IO Interactive. However, like I said, I don't think it's going to be in Hitman 3. Now, the reason why I'm even bringing this topic up in the first place is because this is Hitman 3, which technically it's not. It's actually more like Hitman 8, I believe, at this point. So with that, we've had a lot of Hitman games up to this point with Agent 47. And this being Hitman 3, this could very well round out this new trilogy of Hitman games, and they could easily enough kind of move into another character, have a new agent that comes into the fray, like I said. I feel like the fan base would be very torn about the idea of Agent 47 not being a part of this franchise anymore, or just being a side character in it. And let me give you an example. A comparison would be the Gears of War franchise, guys. This is a franchise that's gone on for quite some time now. We had the first 3 games, which were 3 incredible experiences in the Gears of War franchise. And then, of course, guys, after those 3, we got Gears of War Judgment, which was a step in the wrong direction. And then we got Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which I felt was really, a great step in the right direction. And then Gears 4. Now, up to that point, guys, in the first 3 games, we played as Marcus Phoenix, who was the main character. And he's one of a very popular video game character in all of gaming. And they passed the torch from Gears 3 to Gears 4. We saw Marcus Phoenix no longer be the main character, and his son took the helm in Gears 4, that being JD Phoenix. And then from Gears 4 to Gears 5, we saw JD pass the torch onto Kate Diaz. And so what I'm getting at here, guys, is that I was very concerned about what was going to happen with Gears 4 when we had a new character coming into the fray to take over for Marcus. And Marcus, of course, was aging in Gears 4 and same in Gears 5. Still an incredible character, but just was, you know, obviously aging in those games. And so what I'm getting at here is that it worked out. It really did. Now, people will say, oh, we didn't like Gears 4, we didn't like Gears 5, or the direction that they're going in. But overall, guys, I think they were able to pull it off in a pretty good way. Now, I think they should have stayed with JD for a little bit longer than just one game. But what I'm getting at here is that there's nothing wrong with moving on from one character to another. Now, I think that you have to give it time. You got to make sure that, you put the right pieces in place, that it makes sense, and that the audience, or us as fans of the franchise, can accept that, hey, this is Agent 47's last go around before he kind of retires, or he's, whatever might happen to him, if he gets killed, whatever it might be. I think it's important that, if you want to see the series continue in one way, shape, or form, I mean, we could say, oh yeah, it's just his story's going to go on forever. But I think that there needs to be closure on his narrative and where it's going here. So I think Hitman 3 could be a good spot to do that, but I don't know, and I don't think they're going to do that. One thing that might be interesting about Hitman 3, guys, is maybe IO Interactive decides to add in somewhere along the story, add in a side character, like a sidekick to Agent 47 that he works with in certain missions and such. And then we kind of see what we think about that other character, and then maybe eventually he takes over for Agent 47. It's hard to say, guys. We're not going to know. But when you look at all these other franchises, even games like Splinter Cell, you start seeing a little bit, as Sam Fisher kind of ages and, all of that. There comes a point in time where even the fan base says, we're kind of ready to see what happens here. We want closure on this. And I'm not saying that we're there yet with Hitman and Agent 47, but I think we might be getting close. And it just kind of proposes the question that I want to, leave with all of you. Is, will Hitman 3 kind of conclude Agent 47's story as the new trilogy and kind of moving us into the next generation of consoles and also the next generation of Hitman games? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Hitman 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Ratchet and Clank in the past, guys, the past, the present, and what the future could look like. And now, guys, we have gotten our official confirmation of the continuation of this franchise with Rift Apart, which is the newest Ratchet and Clank game that's going to be coming out. And I gotta say, guys, from what it looks like to me with, a Rift Apart, or a Rift Apart as a game and a concept, I love where they're maybe going with this franchise. So I wanted to talk in this next segment of the show about everything that we know so far about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So let's get into it. So in an article that was written by Hayes Madsen, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart finally brings back the beloved duo after a 4-year hiatus, and the new game looks to push the series further than ever. Sony's PS5 reveal event had a lot of surprises for PlayStation fans, especially fans of Insomniac games. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was one of the first exclusives shown off for the PS5, and it finally brings the duo back in a new adventure for the first time in 7 years, 2016 remake notwithstanding. Now, what I'll say, guys, is for those of you who are Xbox users, unfortunately, this is a PlayStation exclusive that you won't be able to play. Now, maybe it'll go to other consoles or to PC or something, but at least as of right now, it is a PlayStation exclusive and has been for, I believe, the entire series up to this point. Rift Apart really shows how far Ratchet & Clank has come over the years, but the game looks to retain everything that fans know and love while introducing wild new elements. Now, as far as the release date is concerned, guys, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a PS5 exclusive, but as of now, it doesn't have a release date or even a window. Fans shouldn't expect Rift Apart to be available at the PS5 launch in holiday of 2020, as Insomniac also has another game on the way, Spider-Man Miles Morales, also announced during the PS5 event, launches holiday 2020, and the studio's efforts will most likely be on that for the near future. Because of that, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart probably won't see a release until a few months into 2021 at the earliest. And I agree with this, guys, because of when Miles Morales or the new Spider-Man game is going to be coming out. I think that Rift Apart could probably say at some point in 2021 it'll probably release, but yeah, they're going to want to separate these exclusives throughout the course of the year. They're not going to want, the new Spider-Man to come out and then like a month later comes Ratchet and Clank. They're going to spread these games out without a doubt. So I would say, guys, if you were to ask me, I would probably say later in 2021 is when we'll probably see the release of Ratchet and Clank. But obviously, guys, Rift Apart, you have to also remember that with the pandemic going on in our world, there's a possibility that this will actually get pushed back even further in 2021, maybe even to 2022. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but you always have to remember that with any release date that's given to you at this point, in this current time in history, guys, you got to take it with a pinch of salt because things can change. These games can be pushed back because of marketing reasons or because of the pandemic, whatever it might be, guys. You always have to remember that. Hopefully Rift Apart will be able to, sit somewhere in mid to late 2021. The reveal trailer for Rift Apart doesn't detail a lot of story, but it does give a few hints as to what's happening next. The game clearly takes place the furthest in the timeline seen yet, and as Clank states in the trailer, dimensions seem to be collapsing in on one another. In the gameplay clip shown, Clank can be heard talking about how Dr. Nefarious has returned after all these years to try and take over the universe again. That means that Nefarious is likely the main villain of the series once again. Of course, the big reveal is the female Lombax that Clank runs into at the end of the trailer, which means that Ratchet isn't the sole surviving member of his race. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see this female character come into the fray, into the universe. I think that's gonna add some really interesting and exciting elements to this story. In my personal opinion, I think it's gonna actually add a lot to the story here. As far as the gameplay is concerned, guys, the core gameplay of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart remains largely the same, with the focus on third-person shooting and platforming. There are a few new elements that are already on display. Rifts are the first major change, as the game seems to have scripted sequences that have the duo jumping through different dimensions in a matter of seconds and having to contend with the surprises along the way. The rifts also directly tie into gameplay, as Ratchet has a new tool called the Rift Tether. This allows him to grab onto rifts in the environment and use them to teleport around areas, flanking enemies, or simply moving instantaneously. The trailer also showed off 4 new weapons for Ratchet: the Burst Pistol, Shatter Bomb, a shotgun-like Enforcer, and Topiary Sprinkler. Apart from that, the environment seems much more populated with NPCs and enemies than anything the series has seen before, which I'm okay with, guys. Look, I feel like Sony is taking some risks here with, the whole idea of the rifts and such, but I think it could add some really interesting, exciting elements to this story, like almost like going through a rift and going into like another environment, a new atmosphere and such, is going to make this game very interesting if that's the direction they decide to go. I also think using the rifts around your enemies to take out enemies and such, and having more NPCs than or enemies than we've ever seen before, that could add some really interesting elements to this. It's, the stakes are higher. They're taking a risk here with this, but I think that it might be one that pays off, guys. Overall, from a story perspective, we don't know much about the story, but I'm okay with that. I want there to be surprises along the way with a Ratchet and Clank game like this. I think that this has, it's got mystery written all over it, just from the standpoint of the rifts and all of that. So I think that I'm okay with them not showing us a lot as of right now about, the Ratchet and Clank story and where this could be going, but I'm excited to play it nonetheless. And what I will say about it is this, guys. When we look at Ratchet and Clank and what it's done up to this point, Ratchet and Clank, in my opinion, it's a fun game to play. It's a fun, third-person shooter game, and, at times it's kind of felt not necessarily like a copy and paste each game, but there's been elements that have changed, but nothing like this. This is like drastic changes that they're making that are, it's taking risks. But at the end of the day, I actually think, and I really appreciate this. It kind of reminds me of, with Naughty Dog making, taking some risks with The Last of Us 2, knowing that there was going to be some backlash or a lot of backlash to some of the things that they decided to do within the game, whether we're talking about mechanics or we're talking about the story. You look at Ratchet and Clank, they're kind of changing things about it, at least from the outside looking in. We don't know all the details yet, but it looks like there's going to be some differences here, guys. The rifts are going to make you be able to traverse the world in different ways than we've ever been able to do before, as well as from a combat perspective, as well as just, checking out, like, there could be so much more to explore in the universe of Ratchet and Clank by using the rifts. And so that's something that I think we've never seen before, and it could, if it's, done well, I mean, this could be the best game in the series. But with that, guys, it's pretty much everything that we know so far about the game. And to me, at least, I'm very excited to see more. Let's just put it that way. I'm really excited to continue to see more about this story, about what they're planning on doing. I'm hoping there's multiplayer elements to this. I mean, using rifts. I mean, think of like Fortnite. Games have used rifts in the past and such. I mean, it could be really cool concepts from a multiplayer perspective, from co-op perspective, being able to, even have the female character as a playable character in the multiplayer and co-op, whatever it might be, guys. I'm really excited to see where they go with this. And I'll be sure to give you guys more information as more information does come out. And with that, I want to pass a question on to you. What are you guys most excited about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. So I wanted to take this next segment of the show, guys, and kind of go over my top 5 games for 2020 and just games in general right now that I am passionate about, that I believe are definitely games that you should keep an eye on when it comes to actually buying these games. And just overall, guys, my top 5 games, just in general here, which I know some of you may know some of the titles that I'm about to talk about because I'm, a huge fan of some of these games and franchises. But I also thought that this would be a good way for us to have a real conversation about just some of our favorite video games of all time, favorite franchises of all time. And I want to know from all of you in the comment section below about what your top 5 games are as of right now, whether it's all time or just in 2020, whenever you want to look at. I just want to know what your top 5 games are at this point. And so I'm going to give you guys mine. I'd love to hear yours, like I said, in the comment section below. And what we'll do is we'll go through each of the games, and then we'll kind of talk about, are these games that you should buy, or should you kind of just wait until the next game in the franchise comes out, so on and so forth. So let's get into it. So coming in at number 1 for me, guys, is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And you guys know me. I'm a massive Call of Duty fan and have been ever since Modern Warfare 2. Obviously, COD 4 I was a big fan of. I played the campaign, not so much the multiplayer side of things. But then once, after COD 4, really got into the multiplayer side in MW2. And Modern Warfare 2, guys, is still to this day, in my opinion, the second greatest Call of Duty ever made, to Black Ops 2, which is number 1. Modern Warfare, as well as Black Ops 4, are 2 games that kind of sit at third. They're kind of tied at third. And what I will say is that Call of Duty Modern Warfare is a full package deal, in my opinion, guys. I mean, when you look at it, it's pretty much Call of Duty every year is a package deal, because think of it this way. You, generally speaking, will get a campaign. Last year, Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign. They kind of replaced that with Blackout, but we'll get to that in a second. So you typically, with Modern Warfare, you get the campaign, which in my opinion is the greatest campaign in any Call of Duty ever made. I thought that it was so immersive and the story was so well done in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then on top of that, I mean, the graphics and just all of that was just so spot on, so good, guys. The campaign's incredible. I would say just buy the game just to play the campaign alone. I've played it a couple of times myself, one on, one difficulty, then I went through on a second difficulty, and I also wanted to find all the intel and such. Incredible campaign. Then you also get a full multiplayer experience, more ways than ever to really be able to connect with, playing different multiplayer experiences. I love playing the 2v2 gunfight. I love, playing different multiplayer modes. Search and Destroy is pretty much, I would probably say is my favorite. Search and Destroy. And what I'm getting at though, guys, is there's so many ways to connect with the multiplayer, whether you want to play by yourself, with your friends, just with other people out there. It is an incredible, I love the multiplayer experience. I think it's great. Now, I know that there are complaints that people have that Infinity Ward hasn't updated certain things in certain aspects of the game, which is valid. And I would never take that away from anyone. But just as a whole, I think that it's a pretty fun multiplayer experience. And then on top of all of that, you get Spec Ops, which is co-op experiences, or you could go through it on your own if you wanted, but it's another way that you can you can play, and continue connecting. If you don't want to play the multiplayer experiences, you can continue playing. And then on top of all of that, guys, is Call of Duty Warzone, which came out free to play. And look, it's pretty much one of the biggest battle royales at this point in time, and it is an incredible experience. It kind of built off of Blackout, which I thought was a pretty fun experience, but this kind of really took it to the next step. And man, they've done an incredible job with Warzone, in my personal opinion. And it's probably one of the best parts of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, in my personal opinion. So all in all, guys, is this game worth buying? Absolutely. I mean, you get all kinds of stuff. Now, if you're not really into the campaign or really multiplayer modes, you're more into Battle Royale, you can just download Call of Duty Warzone and play it right now for free. But if you want all those other experiences, which is a full package deal, absolutely buy this game. Coming in at number 2 for me, guys, is another game that I am, one of the big 3 to me, which Call of Duty being one of them, this being number 2, that being Gears of War, and Gears 5, guys, being a game that I believe is, just an incredible addition to the franchise. And look, there's a lot of debate and talk that, people feel that there's a lot of problems going on at the Coalition and such. For me, though, I look at it from the totality of what it is that you get in the game. I mean, look, if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play the game right now with your Game Pass subscription. And with that, you're getting a full campaign, which is essentially, pretty much the most immersive that we've ever seen in the Gears of War franchise, because it's a semi-open world. So there's exploration that you can have. I mean, obviously, it's semi-open world, and I'm sure hopefully moving into Gears 6, we're going to be getting a full open world. But nonetheless, from going from a linear experience in each of the previous Gears of War titles to now having a semi-open world is really special. And taking the helm of Kate Diaz, I thought was an incredible ordeal. I think she's a great character. I wish we could have played as JD one more time, and I didn't like the direction that they took JD in Gears 5, the campaign at least. But I loved just how immersive the world is when you kind of open it up to somewhat of a semi-open world. You get to make decisions along the way, which we'll kind of have to wait and see how that goes with canon as far as moving into Gear 6. But overall, guys, I thought it was the most immersive, experience that we've had to date in the Gears of War universe. It's not the best in the series. I believe Gears of War 3 is still the best, but Gears 5 is very good, in my opinion, from a campaign perspective. And then if we're moving over to, obviously, some co-op modes, that being like Horde mode and being able to play with your friends or just other people online. Horde mode's incredible. It's still just as great as it's always been. They've added escape mode, which is a really interesting, cool concept that you can go with your friends, which I really enjoy as well. And then on top of that, guys, you get a full-blown multiplayer experience. Once again, it's a full package deal, guys. I mean, that's really what it comes down to with Gears of War, as well as Call of Duty. You're getting a full package experience. And so with that also comes, having, different ways in which that you can kind of connect with this franchise on the outside, even from an esports perspective, playing some of those playlists that the pros are playing, execution, escalation, and a number of other different game modes, guys. I absolutely love what they've done here with Gears 5. And sure, are there going to be problems? There's problems with any game out there, guys. And so Gears of War is no different with that. But is it worth playing? Is it worth putting time into? Is it worth the money at this point? Absolutely. And I would certainly try it out if you guys have not tried it out at this point. I think it's a great experience. And I think that, if you haven't played any of the Gears of War games, I would go back and start playing some of the original games, or play the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. But I would absolutely say, Gears 5 is a solid addition to the franchise. Coming in at number 3 for me, guys, to round out the big 3, in my opinion, is StarCraft, guys. StarCraft 2, really, StarCraft 1 was a great experience, but man, StarCraft 2, took leaps and bounds, when it came to graphically, to, the gameplay and all of those things from the first StarCraft. And I've always said that StarCraft is the most difficult game. It's the tennis of esports. It's the tennis of video games. If we compare it to real, to sports out there, I look at a game like tennis as the most difficult game in the world because you have to have the endurance. It's all on you as an individual. Your ability to of speed, as well as just agility and being able to your aim, your precision when you have to aim and hit a certain target is unlike anything in any other sport, in my personal opinion. And so StarCraft is, in my opinion, the most tactical game when it comes to strategy out there in the world. I mean, as a player, if you're playing 1v1, it's all on you, and you've got to do everything for yourself and putting yourself into a position to win. And if you play with other people, it's still a very strategic game, which makes it something that it's like chess, just in video game format. And I gotta say, guys, StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, going free to play. You can check it out right now, and it's a beautiful thing, guys. You guys can just check it out. If you've never checked out StarCraft, absolutely try it out. I mean, it's an incredible experience, in my opinion. I have been a huge advocate of the continuation of this franchise being StarCraft 3, and I will continue to be doing that. You guys can check out all of that content here on the YouTube channel about StarCraft 3, but StarCraft 2 as a whole, guys, it's tested, the barrier of time. I mean, we've gone now on to 10 years since, StarCraft 2 came out, and it still holds up to this day from an esports perspective, to just a playing perspective. The campaign is not, it has a campaign. It's a kind of not like the greatest put together campaign, even though the graphics, Blizzard does an incredible job graphically, but story-wise, there have been people who have said that the game's kind of cheesy and such, and not something that's incredibly serious, but I love the lore of StarCraft. I want to explore it more. That's why I would love to see a continuation of it, but it's a great experience just to try out. And it also, in my opinion, if you've never played an RTS like StarCraft, playing the campaign really gets you engaged into the lore, but also the story and the mechanics of how the game works. So when you go to play multiplayer or co-op, you can of course do that. Each year, guys, we're getting new updates on StarCraft 2, that being like co-op commanders, new characters, and things of that nature, which also brings more playability. Having the multiplayer perspective from a 1v1 to 2v2, 3v3, whatever it is that you want to play, you can play with, your friends or by yourself, with other people out there in the world. And I gotta say, it becomes an incredibly exciting experience, because each win, it feels so good when you win when you start winning games, because it's difficult to do within the world of StarCraft. And so as a whole, guys, look, this is a game that you could pick up right now, StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, free to play, and you can try it out, and then go from there if you want to get the expansions, that being Heart of the Swarm as well as Legacy of the Void. Incredible experience, guys, and I would highly recommend at least trying it out if you hadn't so far. Coming in at number 4 for me, guys, the greatest PlayStation exclusive of all time, in my personal opinion, is The Last of Us. And look, coming off of the recent, release of The Last of Us Part 2, I'm going to be talking and speaking from I'll be giving you guys a review on The Last of Us 2 when I finish the game. I've started it, so I can give you a little bit of what my feelings are about it. But just as a whole, let's just look at this as a franchise. The Last of Us, when it released, was, at first it came with my PlayStation 4, and as it remastered, and I didn't really put much, I didn't really think about playing it that much. I had it, and it was like, I'm going to try it at some point or another. Everyone talks about it, but I just, was playing other games. I was playing multiplayer games like Call of Duty, Gears of War, and such. And then one day I popped it in, and I became instantly hooked on this game and this franchise. Absolutely loved the concept of just this world that they've built over at Naughty Dog, something that is really impressive. And I'll tell you, the moment where I was so hooked on this game was near my home city, which is Pittsburgh, PA. When we were walking through Pittsburgh, PA, in the game, in The Last of Us 2, and it's all run down, but there were areas of it that looked so familiar to me. That was a moment that I had in that video, in this, virtual world, that was such a huge, just an experience unlike any I've ever experienced. And, I've played The Last of Us 1 a number of times now, and I gotta say that I love the experience and what they've built here with the Last of Us franchise. They took some chances. They've done things within that universe that it felt like the adult version of Uncharted. There were kind of some aspects to it that were similar to Uncharted and obviously different, but Uncharted was more, to me at least, more of a kid-friendly game, even though it's not necessarily kid-friendly. It just kind of felt like a little more kid-friendly versus that of The Last of Us, which is that gritty, dark story. And moving into The Last of Us Part 2, it was my, most anticipated game of the year. And when we got that, I gotta say, guys, I'm only a portion through it. The one thing that I hope as I'm going through this story is that there's more environments to explore. It basically being mainly in Seattle. There's nothing wrong with that, but I thought there was something really cool about, going to different locations across the United States in The Last of Us 1. And so with The Last of Us 2, I understand them changing the formula, changing what was in The Last of Us 1 and changing that here in the second one, but overall, I gotta say, I haven't seen a better looking game on the PlayStation 4 ever. It is incredible what they have done in The Last of Us Part 2 as far as from a visual perspective. And as far as the story goes, guys, I'll be getting into that when I bring out my review of it. All I will say is this. If you haven't played The Last of Us 1, the first one, remastered, do it. Do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's not very expensive, and it is an incredible experience that you will be very happy that you tried. And then The Last of Us 2, you know what, guys? If you want to just see something visually spectacular in a game and very, visceral and exciting and terrifying and all of these different emotions within a game, The Last of Us 2 is definitely going to be for you as well, and it's certainly for me. But as I said, I'll have to give you guys my full review on it. And then, just from a campaign perspective, it's incredible. But then from a multiplayer perspective, if you remember from The Last of Us 1, multiplayer in that was called Factions. Now, The Last of Us Part 2 is going to add multiplayer later on, similar to what CD Projekt Red is doing with Cyberpunk 2077. They're adding it later, but the fact of the matter is, if you buy the game, you're getting a visceral and, a story, this like just breathtaking story. And then on top of that, you're getting a multiplayer experience later on, so it'll bring you back to the game over and over again. And so at the end of the day, I look at full packages. I look at games that you're getting a full package deal, and I believe that with The Last of Us 1 and even The Last of Us 2, you're going to be getting a full package deal here, in my opinion. And The Last of Us, guys, one of the greatest games of all time, in my personal opinion. And then rounding out, guys, to number 5 is Red Dead Redemption. And look, at the end of the day, guys, going back, this was one of those games. So I played Red Dead Revolver on the original Xbox, and I absolutely loved this experience as a whole. I would have loved to see the continuation of Red Dead Revolver, but we got Red Dead Redemption, which I'm not, I love Red Dead Redemption, and I thought it was an incredible experience. And then we got Red Dead Redemption 2, and it seems like each game, we've seen it get elevated in multiple ways, that being from a story perspective, from just, having those open world elements, and then from an online perspective. Red Dead Redemption 2, guys, is a game where you've got a very immersive story, an open world setting in the Wild West, and you're able to explore different areas. You're able to really connect with some of these characters. And then Of course, if as you're playing the campaign, you can move on to the multiplayer, which is Red Dead Online, guys, which is, I mean, this is from Rockstar, the same guys who do GTA and the Grand Theft Auto Online. They did Red Dead Online now, and that is another way in which you can connect with the franchise. And once again, as I had already said earlier, having a full package in these games is a huge deal. So not only do you get the story, which is an immersive and like incredibly well done story and crafted story that has mystery to it. It has, the graphics are just absolutely incredible. And they've done such a great job for such an open world setting. I can't wait to see what they do moving forward on the next generation hardware. But the story, it's not just like some short story. It's a decently sized, longer story. The same thing with The Last of Us Part 2. Longer story. You have, the multiplayer elements that'll keep you coming back to the game, and that goes for all these games, guys. Multiplayer brings you back to all these games. This is why these are my top 5. You have ways in which that you can come back to the franchise over and over again, and you're able to connect with not only the story and the characters, but then the multiplayer experiences with your friends. You're able to play co-op with your friends, or just multiple different ways that you can connect here with these franchises. And as I said, with Red Dead Redemption, guys, it is if you haven't played it, it's certainly worth it. It's certainly worth you playing the campaign through and then going ahead playing Red Dead Online. Now, I'm not very good at Red Dead Online. I'm just not really good. There's some people who are incredibly good at playing Red Dead Online. I'm just not very good at it, but it is fun to get on there and just play with your friends and just, do whatever it is that you want to do within that world. But from even just a story perspective, it's worth the money just from the story perspective alone, in my personal opinion, and all the different things that you can do within that world. Red Dead Online is an added bonus, and anything else that they add along the way is an added bonus as well. But, guys, these are my top 5 games that I would have to put my stamp of approval on when it comes to buying them here in 2020. Some of them are going to be much cheaper. Some of them are free. And some of them are, have gone down in price over time. If you haven't picked them up, definitely do so. Do yourself a favor. These are incredible experiences. And I wouldn't just be saying that just to say it. I mean, these are experiences that I've experienced myself on a multitude of occasions. I'll have to give you guys my thoughts, later on, which sooner rather than later. Keep an eye out for my review of The Last of Us Part 2. But overall, guys, I love these games as a whole, and I would love to hear your top 5 games here in 2020 in the comment section down below. And for more top 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. A new story that happened in the gaming community that I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on, and I wanted to hear some of your guys' opinions about this as well in the comment section down below, was about obviously Mixer closing, guys, closing its doors, but more so than closing, it's more so just kind of merging with Facebook Gaming. Ninja and Shroud, of course, who were a part of Mixer, are now released from their contracts, and they've decided not to pursue Facebook Gaming, which is very interesting. And I wanted to kind of break this whole thing down, what this means for gaming in particular, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and have a real conversation about it, like I said, in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. In an article, guys, that was written by Andy Robinson of VGC, all users will be redirected to Facebook Gaming from next month as Microsoft is closing Mixer and releasing Ninja and Shroud from their contracts. From July 22nd, all Mixer sites and apps will redirect users to Facebook Gaming. Mixer partners will be granted partner status with Facebook Gaming, and the platform will honor and match all existing partner agreements as closely as possible, according to Microsoft. However, the major streamers locked into exclusivity deals with Mixer, included Ninja as well as Shroud, will be released from their contracts, Facebook told The Verge. Ninja and Shroud reportedly received payouts in the tens of millions following Microsoft's decision to close Mixer and release them from the exclusivity contracts. So, in a statement published on the Xbox website, head of Xbox Phil Spencer said the service had failed to grow in line with its expectations. Ultimately, the success of partners and streamers on Mixer is dependent on our ability to scale the service for them as quickly and broadly as possible, he wrote. It became clear that the time needed to grow our own live streaming community scale was out of measure with the vision and experience we want to deliver to gamers now. So we've decided to close the operations side of Mixer and help the community transition to a new platform. Mixer was launched by Microsoft as Beam in 2016 and later rebranded. Microsoft has pushed Mixer aggressively in 2019, invested millions to poach streaming stars Ninja and Shroud from the Amazon's rival Twitch platform. Microsoft reportedly paid in the region of $50 million to lure Ninja from Twitch to Mixer in August 2019. Signing Ninja, who had some 14 million followers on Twitch, marked a huge coup for the platform as it attempted to compete with streaming giants Twitch as well as YouTube. And then Ninja tweeted, "I love my community and what we built together on Mixer. I have some decisions to make and will be thinking about you all as I make them." And so what I got to say, I mean, first of all, is Ninja and Shroud got paid. I mean, they made some significant bread off of this entire, ordeal, which good for them. I'm really happy to see them get theirs, guys. They've worked so hard. I mean, Ninja and Shroud, both incredible streamers to say the least. Now, one thing that's unfortunate is that, Mixer didn't do very well, and it wasn't doing very well for a while, in my opinion. And even though picking up those streamers, you would think that would have really helped build the platform, it just didn't do that. Now, Mixer, or Microsoft that is, moving everyone over to Facebook Gaming, this is an interesting move. What I will say, guys, is Facebook Gaming is growing, and it's growing pretty significantly at this point. I think with adding Mixer, streamers to its platform, I think that it's going to continue growing in a major way. Mixer, that being Facebook, I believe, I've even thought in the past about trying out Facebook Gaming. I think that it's going to be a pretty good opportunity because, look, a lot of people do use Facebook. There are people who don't, but there's a lot of people who use Facebook just from a perspective of, going on there, looking at their timeline. And for those of us who are gamers, some of us follow, different, people on Facebook that are gamers or, gaming groups and such, that you'll start seeing a lot more people within those groups that are streaming games. And so all I got to say is when I first started watching Facebook Gaming and seeing kind of its growth, it is growing at a pretty nice rate. And having Mixer kind of feeding all of those people into Facebook Gaming, I think it could become something pretty special. So that's kind of the second part of this. Where are, Ninja and Shroud going to end up? It's hard to say, guys. I mean, they could end up over at YouTube. They could end up, back on Twitch. I mean, I don't know if I could see that happening, especially with how Twitch treated them after they left the platform. However, I mean, I think Twitch may very well just kind of, welcome them back with open arms because they are two huge, gamers and streamers that were on the platform that were bringing in, millions upon millions of eyeballs. And so I think that there's a possibility that, Shroud as well as Ninja may end up back on Twitch. I think there's more likely, in my opinion, that they will go to YouTube. Or, obviously they've declined Facebook Gaming, which is really interesting to me. I'm not sure exactly why they decided not to go with Facebook Gaming. If they thought that was just maybe Facebook Gaming they think is going to be another Mixer, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, they may kind of just, look around. And I think that they could get a really good deal on Twitch or a really good deal on YouTube, to say the least. And so we're going to kind of have to wait and see. For me, though, guys, Facebook is taking an aggressive approach here. When it comes to gaming, when it comes to social media as a whole, Facebook, guys, is one, even though, regardless of what you think about Facebook, it is, one of the juggernauts on social media. And I think they're doing a pretty dang good job of growing their gaming side. I really can't see Ninja and Shroud joining like Twitter Gaming or joining, one of those. Now, obviously there's a possibility, and you can never say never to anything. It's hard to say, though. I feel that they're going to end up back on Twitch, or they're going to go over to YouTube, and maybe one goes to YouTube, one goes to Twitch, or whatever the case might be. It's going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, I'm so proud of, Ninja and Shroud. They got theirs, man. They got theirs. They took a leap of faith going to Mixer. They, made, a lot of money by doing that. They were able to kind of, make that for themselves, for their family. I mean, for all of those different, reasons that they did make the move. And there was, a huge risk in doing that at the end of the day. But now they're free of those contracts and they can do what it is that they want. And so I'm really excited that there's more. What Ninja did was almost like what LeBron James did when he went to Miami. And then went back to Cleveland, then went to LA. He basically, what LeBron did, guys, for sports, or for NBA in particular, was he was putting the power in the players' hands. He basically said, look, we have the power to kind of dictate what we do with our career. We don't have to listen to other people. And Ninja and Shroud, they kind of did the same thing. They made a move over to Mixer, showing that, hey, like, we have a lot of pool, a lot of say here. Now, look, in this instance, it didn't necessarily work out for Ninja and Shroud. Like, I mean, they still had decent viewership, but Mixer as a whole had really poor viewership. And that just really comes back on the platform as a whole, not so much just the streamers. But what I got to say is that it just kind of reminds me of, what happened when LeBron went to Miami, because he had success, but he also had some failures. And the same thing here with Ninja and Shroud. And so now the next thing that they do is going to be really interesting. Are they coming back home like LeBron did going back to Cleveland? Or are they going to go to a new platform altogether? It'll be interesting, guys, and I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as more information comes out. And let me know what you guys think about all this news in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about Facebook Gaming? What do you guys think about Ninja and Shroud saying no to joining Facebook Gaming? Let me know. And for more content and videos, guys, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.